for their economic help to make it possible for us to have also interpretation during the panels. Thank you. This is generous and important for democratic aspect, that we can listen to each other and learn from each other despite our different language. I would like to just very brief give you my view on the pollinators, and since we started a little bit late due to some technical problem, I will not be very long, but I would like to tell you that for me, as elected member in the European Parliament, I have been meeting many beekeepers, farmers around in the election movements ahead of both the last legislature in the European Parliament and this one, and also citizens who are concerned about the situation that we face. There are different angles to this, but one is, of course, that we see what's been discussed during the week, that we have a decline in pollinators, and that this is affecting both the farming sector and also beekeepers. And there are different angles to this problem, or different routes, but together it all sums up to a situation where there is a serious decline, and that is really worrying. But on the other hand, as always, when humanity is faced with problems, we often find solutions that is better for the future. So there is also lots of ideas on how we can face this. And then I would also like to mention that also in my history in the election movements, I have also met beekeepers who were very concerned about the topics that we will talk about today, namely the situation with having not today a legislation that is helping when it comes to informing the consumers where the honey comes from. And that is something that I hope that we will explore better today, how we can do for the future and help out also in the legislative arena. But there might be other tools that needs to be there in place to help consumers know that they actually buy honey that comes from bees, and they don't, this is not something else that they will eat or drink, but that it's actually is a natural product that is real and not a fraud, or consists of something that's not healthy, or also negative for your industry. Some of you are very involved, of course, also as beekeepers, I assume, in the audience here. But I will not prolong this. I promised you to be short in my introduction statement. So I will, without further ado, launch the panel, the first panel about labeling. And I will give the floor to Frank Aletru, who is a French professional beekeeper and also president of the European beekeeper, let's see, so I say it correctly, the Beekeeper Professional Beekeepers, EPBA. And you will have now 15 minutes to explain how the situation is for you and also for your members, and give us the real introduction of this subject. So, Mr. Aletru, the floor is yours.
C'est le fait de changer. Est-ce que vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez très bien?
Oui, Franck.
Oui, c'est bon, merci.
Merci beaucoup. Bon, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Merci à vos organisateurs pour l'invitation à participer à cette journée dédiée à l'apiculture et plus particulièrement à ce panel sur l'étiquetage, un sujet de la plus haute importance pour notre filière. Merci à Madame la députée Gutland pour son engagement à nos côtés. Nous avons besoin d'un énorme soutien. Et un remerciement surtout aussi aux traducteurs et aux interprètes, car mon PowerPoint est en français, contrairement à ce qui avait été annoncé. Mais voilà, dans le programme, il était aussi annoncé que je défendais le point de vue des consommateurs, mais c'est surtout, bien sûr, le point de vue des apiculteurs que je vais vous présenter, qui cependant œuvrent aussi pour la protection des consommateurs et leur information. Voilà, je suis donc apiculteur professionnel en France, président du SNA, le syndicat national apicole français, et président de l'EPA, une association dont je vais vous parler très rapidement. C'est une structure qui représente donc 18 membres, 18 associations nationales, et qui repose essentiellement sur le volontariat. Nous avons des apiculteurs qui sont des agriculteurs par définition, mais pas uniquement. Notre filière est particulière car elle regroupe aussi ce que l'on appelle des pluriactifs. Et nous fournissons un service écosystémique pour la pollinisation sur l'ensemble du territoire grâce à tous ces acteurs éleveurs d'abeilles. Alors, pourquoi s'intéresser à l'étiquetage? Nous produisons un produit d'origine animale destiné à la consommation humaine avec des exigences légales. C'est la qualité de nos produits qui dépend directement de l'agro-environnement, de nos abeilles particulièrement, mais aussi de notre savoir-faire. Et l'étiquetage, qui va depuis le miel mis dans les fûts, comme nous pouvons le voir sur l'image, jusqu'au pot de miel chez le consommateur, doit respecter une information qui doit être claire, fidèle et transparente par rapport au contenu du produit. Alors, l'étiquetage en Europe est soumis en quelque sorte à différentes conditions, notamment les règles de base de l'étiquetage du miel. Elles sont décrites dans la directive 2001/110, qui est dite la directive miel, bien connue sous ce nom. C'est l'information qui doit être fournie aux consommateurs ainsi que les critères de qualité et de définition du miel. C'est elle qui permet normalement de manière exceptionnelle l'étiquetage des origines en mélange de miel de l'Union européenne et de non originaire de l'Union européenne, c'est-à-dire un mélange de miel du monde entier, du miel qui provient de la planète Terre. Donc, c'est ce point-là qui est un point de discorde, de crispation entre ce que l'on appelle l'amont, les producteurs, et l'aval, les distributeurs, qui, eux, souhaitent conserver au maximum cette appellation très floue. Ce point-là, nous y reviendrons tout à l'heure, car il est réellement un point sur lequel nous assistons à une concurrence très déloyale en raison de certaines importations massives de miel. C'est ce qu'avait évoqué tout à l'heure, dans la précédente table ronde, mon collègue Étienne Bruno. Alors, cette directive, chaque État membre l'a traduit un peu à sa façon dans sa législation. En France, chez nous, c'est un véritable copier-coller. D'autres pays ont choisi progressivement de retirer la possibilité de cet étiquetage flou des origines pour augmenter et améliorer la transparence sur l'origine des miels qui sont mis en mélange dans les pots. Il y a aussi le règlement dit INCO, qui est le règlement qui régit l'information du consommateur sur les denrées alimentaires. Et cette réglementation, au niveau de l'information qui est présente sur l'emballage, ne doit pas induire le consommateur en erreur. Le règlement INCO, il actualise, il simplifie, il clarifie l'étiquetage des denrées alimentaires commercialisées dans l'Union européenne. Il maintient les dispositions antérieures de la directive 2013, il harmonise les informations devant figurer sur toutes les étiquettes des denrées alimentaires commercialisées dans l'Union européenne. Ces règles s'appliquent à toutes les denrées vendues au consommateur final. Cependant, il y a de nombreuses prescriptions qui ne concernent que les produits préemballés. Et il faut quand même aussi savoir que ce règlement INCO s'applique à tous les opérateurs du secteur alimentaire, les producteurs, les distributeurs, les détaillants, les restaurateurs, le commerce de bouche, les spécialistes, etc. Nous en arrivons donc à notre étiquetage qui est avec des informations obligatoires qui sont l'origine du pays de récolte, le type de miel, le poids net que le consommateur a dans l'emballage, sa date de consommation limite, un DDM, le numéro de lot, de façon à identifier clairement la traçabilité du produit contenu et bien sûr l'identification claire de l'apiculteur ou du conditionnaire. Alors, le miel, c'est vraiment un produit, je dirais, un des premiers produits agricoles sous une exploitation familiale qui est distribué essentiellement au sein d'un oligopole, mais cet oligopole a tendance quand même à s'élargir de plus en plus. C'est un produit agricole primaire, c'est-à-dire la production de produits issus du sol et de l'élevage, qui sont bien clairement énumérés à l'annexe 1 du TFUE, le traitement de fonctionnement de l'UE, qui donc détermine exactement c'est la mise en marché des produits sur lesquels il n'y a pas d'opération qui modifie la nature des produits. Afin de permettre à tous de pouvoir commercialiser leurs produits, il est nécessaire de garder un système simple et flexible parce que c'est un produit primaire, mais aussi parce que c'est un produit qui est considéré jusqu'à aujourd'hui comme ne présentant que peu de risques. L'étiquetage obligatoire, les points précédemment cités, sont aussi concernés. Il existe bien sûr des indications optionnelles, telles que la valeur nutritionnelle. Elle est optionnelle et nous souhaiterions que celle-ci le reste. Nous en parlerons plus en détail un peu plus loin, car une étiquette générique sur l'aspect nutritionnel risquerait d'être erronée et n'informerait pas correctement le consommateur. Notre souci, c'est la valorisation, bien sûr, de notre production, de nos savoir-faire en Europe, en tant qu'apiculture, mais aussi de ne pas tromper le consommateur. Donc, voilà. Ce qui amène évidemment au problème des miels composés de miels d'origine différente en mélange. C'est là le gros problème. C'est à ce type de miel qu'aujourd'hui nous nous trouvons confrontés, et c'est ce type de miel qui génère des concurrences déloyales, qui génère la mise en marché de produits non conformes, qui génère de véritables fraudes à l'échelle internationale, on dirait aujourd'hui même mondiale. Alors aujourd'hui, comment étiqueter un miel composé de miel d'origine diverse? Dans le rapport d'initiative du député Ardos sur le secteur apicole de 2017, il est clairement indiqué et demandé que la mention mélange de miel issu d'un mélange de miel en provenance de l'UE et non UE prenne fin et que figure dorénavant sur l'étiquette l'indication exacte du ou des pays dont le miel est issu. Le rapport va même plus loin. Il dit que les pays doivent être listés dans l'ordre pondéral décroissant et de manière additionnelle, avec les pourcentages pour chaque origine, pour chaque pays. Nous y reviendrons un petit peu plus tard. Ici, vous avez sur cette diapo la présentation de différentes interprétations et de mise en place de l'étiquetage, avec effectivement des exigences qui ont été jusqu'à présent à la disposition de chaque État membre. On va commencer, ce n'est pas très correct, je commence par la France. C'est tout simplement après un rejet de la Commission de la nouvelle loi. Aujourd'hui, on a une nouvelle loi qui est un décret qui est en cours. On est toujours sur une démarche volontaire des conditionneurs d'indiquer ou de ne pas indiquer les pays, l'origine des pays qui rentrent dans la mise en œuvre du mélange. Donc, on est aujourd'hui avec un marché très disparate dans les linéaires des magasins. Le consommateur peut se trouver devant des identifications très floues ou, comme là, avec un début de clarification avec une liste de pays. En Allemagne, ensuite l'image suivante, en Allemagne, en Autriche et en Suède, la directive elle a été transposée, mais certains conditionneurs sur certains types de miel apposent les origines de façon, je dirais, plus ou moins précise. Voilà. En Italie, par contre, dès 2006, en Grèce en 2015 et en Croatie en 2017, là, c'est clair, il y a eu un très grand progrès. Tous les pays doivent être mentionnés sur les miels en mélange conditionnés au niveau des États membres. Donc, ceci, c'est dans l'intérêt toujours des consommateurs, on est bien d'accord, et c'est une attente des consommateurs d'avoir une traçabilité claire, et le circuit court est aujourd'hui privilégié. Alors aujourd'hui, que demande le PBA? Notre structure demande un étiquetage de chaque pays d'origine dans les miels de mélange qui sont présents sur le marché intérieur de l'Union européenne et que ce soit de manière donc obligatoire. Le PBA rappelle que cet étiquetage sur les origines des produits, qui doit être clair pour les consommateurs, devrait concerner tous les produits de la ruche et ainsi inclure les préparations à base de miel, à base de propolis ou de miel et de gelée royale et autres mélanges que l'on peut trouver sur le marché. Il doit être fait au niveau de l'Union européenne, ceci afin de mettre fin à la concurrence déloyale que certains conditionneurs mettent en avant. Et maintenant, je vous propose de voir un cas très concret de problème d'étiquetage, mais ce qui va beaucoup plus loin, et cela va faire résonance avec les propos tenus déjà ce matin par mon collègue sur certaines fraudes et adultérations. Alors, voici quelques cas rencontrés sur le marché. Il s'agit de pseudo-miels. On ne peut pas appeler ça des miels. Ils ont été vendus à travers l'Europe par un distributeur international de la grande distribution. 4 États membres ont été concernés par cette mise en marché, pour ce cas d'espèce. Il s'agit donc des pays l'Autriche, l'Allemagne, la Hongrie et l'Italie. Et ce produit provenait de Turquie et avait été conditionné en Hongrie. Il s'agit de miel adultéré avec du sirop. Et sur ce fait, chaque association apicole nationale a pris le problème réellement à bras-le-corps. Et au niveau des consommateurs, nous avons souhaité interpeller en prenant contact avec la BEUC, l'Association européenne de défense des consommateurs, afin d'avoir un soutien pour les alerter sur ce produit qui n'est absolument pas conforme. Car, comme je le dis toujours, le PBA veut défendre ses produits, mais en défendant ses produits, il est question aussi de défendre le consommateur, la santé, car on s'éloigne d'un produit naturel de qualité quand on est sur des produits adultérés. Et de plus, nous avons absolument besoin de la confiance de ces derniers. Donc, on va rentrer dans le cas concret, si vous permettez. Donc, sur l'étiquette de la photo, si vous arrivez à lire sur vos écrans, je vais vous donner plus d'indications. Sur la photo que vous trouverez en haut à droite et en bas à droite, on peut lire en allemand ce qui signifie en français miel de fleurs avec du miel d'acacia et un rayon de miel. Donc, vous voyez, on est déjà en présence d'un mélange de 3 produits. Un miel de fleurs, un miel d'acacia et un rayon, donc de la cire, contenant des alvéoles, contenant logiquement du miel. Dans la liste des ingrédients, on peut lire sur l'étiquette 44% de miel de fleurs, 35% de miel d'acacia, 21% de miel en rayon avec sa cire. Nous arrivons bien à un total de 100%. Un mélange de miel provenant de pays de l'UE et de pays tiers, sans plus de précision dans un premier temps. Mais si on lit bien l'étiquette, plus intéressant encore, nous trouvons les termes sirop alimentaire, composé de glucose, de fructose, de saccharose et d'eau. Ces ingrédients listés prouvent bien qu'il s'agit d'un produit qu'on pourrait appeler littéralement le rayon de miel, rayon de cire, composé de sirop, puisque nous étions à 100% dans la liste précédente, et là, subitement, nous voyons apparaître la composition d'un sirop, la composition affichée d'une adultération. Sachant que le miel, pour s'appeler miel, doit être exempt de tout sirop, de tout produit relevant d'une adultération. Là, nous nous trouvons devant une tromperie manifeste du consommateur qui ne peut plus s'y retrouver et qui, voyant des alvéoles, de la cire, des rayons à l'intérieur d'un pot, pense réellement qu'il ne peut pas trouver plus naturel. Alors, selon les pays, le résultat de l'interprétation légale n'est pas la même, et c'est ce qu'il faut que nous arrivions au niveau législatif et réglementaire en Europe, faire en sorte qu'il n'y ait qu'une seule et unique réglementation qui interdise ce type de produit, puisqu'il s'agit d'une tromperie formelle. Alors, sur ce sujet, je tiens à vous dire que je félicite tout particulièrement mes collègues autrichiens et hongrois qui ont fait un énorme travail de façon à faire en sorte qu'il y ait une réglementation et une attaque juridique et qui retire ces produits du marché. En France, nous avons interpellé le distributeur et les produits n'ont pas été mis en marché. Je vais aller très vite, car je pense que mon temps est bientôt terminé. Je voudrais aussi mettre en éveil la difficulté que nous avons à accepter la définition d'un miel artificiel. Nous avons une nomenclature qui est très claire pour du miel naturel, et là on n'a pas de problème, mais miel artificiel, c'est quelque chose d'inacceptable. C'est une tromperie, c'est une porte ouverte à la fraude, et là, il faut que réglementairement, on la ferme définitivement. Pour rester cohérent sur l'étiquetage, aujourd'hui, on voit apparaître des systèmes d'étiquetage nutritionnel sur le devant de l'emballage avec des codes couleurs. Pour le moment, ils ne concernent que les produits de miel en mélange avec d'autres ingrédients. Il ne faudrait surtout pas que ceci s'étende au miel, car si on respecte ce type de graduation, le miel étant un produit sucré, mais ce sont des sucres nobles, directement assimilables. Le miel est le premier alicament de l'humanité. Eh bien, avec ce système de graduation, il serait qualifié en D, couleur orange, c'est l'avant-dernière position. Ce serait catastrophique. C'est-à-dire que cette forme d'identification de système de code de couleur ne correspond pas du tout au miel, car il contredit l'image de santé de tous les produits de la ruche. Ils sont reconnus par la science, par l'apidologie, comme étant des produits qui favorisent le bon état de santé, qui améliorent la santé. Et là, une partie des consommateurs serait totalement désorientée et ce serait inacceptable et très dangereux pour notre filière et ouvrirait la porte, encore une fois, à d'autres produits plus ou moins en mélange et de mauvaise qualité. Pour la suite, eh bien, nous constatons une véritable multiplication des labels. Les éco-stores, l'empreinte carbone, la durabilité, l'équité, l'indice glycémique. Pour bon nombre de ceux-ci, ils ont du sens et nous les soutenons. C'est une discussion et des stratégies à avoir au niveau de chaque secteur. Et nous, notre secteur souhaite y répondre de façon à mieux respecter les attentes des consommateurs. Il faut préserver la naturalité et l'intégrité de nos produits apicoles. Et nous devons préserver l'intérêt pour la filière apicole, à favoriser le renouvellement des générations. On l'a dit tout à l'heure, c'est un métier vieillissant, il faut impérativement ramener de la jeunesse et il ne faut pas être dans un contexte de concurrence déloyale, sinon ils ne viendront pas. Donc aujourd'hui, on a des exigences, des demandes, je dirais plutôt qu'au niveau de la consultation publique et de l'agenda, c'est que réellement, on ne remette pas, je dirais qu'on ne remette pas la possibilité de cet étiquetage UE et non UE sur le marché. Il faut vraiment s'en débarrasser directement. Et au niveau des pourcentages, il est important aussi qu'on obtienne que chaque origine pour le miel soit précisée, c'est-à-dire qu'il y ait la liste des produits, des origines, mais le pourcentage. Sinon, c'est insuffisant. Il faut aller très loin. Et dans le rapport Erdos, c'était demandé. Donc, il faut revenir là-dessus, ne pas lâcher. Au niveau des députés européens qui nous soutiennent, c'est une demande essentielle car elle évite toute la tricherie. Ensuite, concernant l'étiquetage, eh bien, ce que l'on souhaite, c'est le respect de l'intégrité de nos produits apicoles. Il faut préserver impérativement, je dirais, l'image de produits de haute valeur alimentaire, et le miel et les produits de la ruche. l'associer à la protection du rôle essentiel et irremplaçable de nos abeilles en matière de biodiversité et de pollinisation, lutter contre les pesticides, car nous devons préserver ce rôle essentiel et irremplaçable des abeilles, qui sont les mères, nos mères, qui sont les mères de l'humanité. Je vous remercie pour votre attention et je reste à votre disposition pour toute question. Merci.
Thank you so much for this very interesting and concrete message, Mr. Aletru. I think you were very concrete also towards the legislators and the mother of life, or what did you call in the end? I will quote you. It was very nice. I will not
the mother of the humanity.
Of the humanity, of course it is, definitely. This is something that should be quoted from this webinar. I will now go in immediately to the panel debate and give the floor to our panelists, so we get the opportunity to listen to all of you before we have some Q&A, both between you and also in the audience. But I will present all three of you that will attend this panel. And it's Irene Tollert, who's member of the European Parliament. And you will start. And then it's Kai-Uwe Sprengen from the European Commission. And you will be second out. And then it's Lucian Secik, Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Food and Fisheries Directorate in the Republic of Slovenia. And all three of you will have 3 to 5 minutes each, and then you will also be able to interact between each other and so after your introductions. But I will start with our member from the European Parliament, Madame Tolleret. The floor is yours, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, maybe I will get a message about if there is some technical problems. But I will take this opportunity to also ask you in the audience to maybe prepare some questions for the end of this webinar, if you have to the panel and would like to say something. Please prepare, and you can also, of course, write in the chat if you have something. But I would like to give the floor to Madame Tolleret.
No, Miss Gutland, I don't know what is happening. I mean, I think she must be having some issues. So could you please
continue? Yeah, definitely. No problem there. We will just rotate the turn a bit and give Mr. Sprengen from the European Commission the floor. The floor is yours.
Okay. Sorry, hop, French. Bonjour, excusez-moi, j'étais pas sur mon lien.
Ok, Sprenger.
Je parlais à mon micro qui ne me parlait pas. Donc, merci beaucoup d'avoir organisé cet événement. Je vous remercie d'autant plus que ma première intervention en Comagri a parlé de l'étiquetage du miel et qu'en ce moment même, nous avons avec une collègue écrit un courrier à la Commission pour parler de l'importance de protéger la lavande qui a un rôle important dans la nourriture des pollinisateurs que sont pour défendre les pollinisateurs. Donc, c'est essentiel par rapport à l'avenir de la planète, par rapport à notre santé, notre environnement, nos paysages, de défendre les pollinisateurs. Et pourtant, cela fait 5 saisons de suite que la plupart des apiculteurs européens ont subi les conséquences dramatiques du changement climatique. Sécheresse, gel, inondations ont beaucoup infecté les pollinisateurs européens, qui sont tellement importants pour notre biodiversité, et on le sait, on ne peut pas regarder ailleurs. Le miel est aujourd'hui un des 3 produits les plus trafiqués du monde, avec le lait et l'huile d'olive. Les consommateurs européens n'ont aucune conscience de ça, parce qu'au niveau de l'étiquetage, eh bien, il y a le mot miel, et donc cela crée une concurrence avec des pays qui ne respectent pas la définition du miel comme établie dans le Codex Alimentarius. Le miel, dans la législation européenne, c'est un produit naturel qui est produit naturellement par Apis mellifera sans intervention humaine. En revanche, en Chine, le procédé d'élevage et de déshydratation du miel s'est fait artificiellement, et le produit final est avec des additions de sirop et d'autres types de sucre. En plus, les produits tiers utilisent des antibiotiques qui sont interdits sur le sol européen pour traiter les maladies des abeilles. Or, aujourd'hui, nous importons. L'Union européenne importe de ces pays tiers, et donc nous avons un marché qui est toujours sous pression de pression-prix qui tire vers le haut, avec des pratiques qui tirent vers le bas. On ne peut pas continuer comme ça. Il est absolument important que nous protégions les apiculteurs européens contre cette compétition déloyale. Et soit dit en passant, pendant qu'on y pense, on peut aussi se dire qu'on doit passer du libre-échange au juste échange pour les apiculteurs et les pollinisateurs, mais aussi l'ensemble des agriculteurs européens. Et je crois que c'est vraiment très important que l'Union européenne révise la directive sur le miel, qui en plus date de 2001, c'est-à-dire qu'elle a 20 ans. Donc on peut se dire que depuis 20 ans, le monde a changé, et qu'on y va, et on y va avec du courage politique pour défendre les apiculteurs maintenant, parce que c'est maintenant que ça se passe. Le manque de transparence et d'harmonisation a été soulevé par l'intervenant précédent, que ce soit sur l'étiquetage, que ce soit sur les contrôles. Tout ça, entre guillemets, on favorise les personnes qui travaillent le moins bien par rapport au détriment des personnes qui travaillent le mieux. C'est juste pas possible. Il faut qu'on arrête. Il faut aussi on donne, alors que ce n'est pas le cas aujourd'hui dans tous les États membres, une visibilité claire sur le pays d'origine. Voilà. Donc, je pense qu'il est essentiel que nous changions les règles d'étiquetage. C'est de la tromperie. Le système actuel est de la tromperie pour le consommateur. À titre personnel, je suis malade des bronches. Je peux vous assurer que le miel n'a pas la même valeur que du sucre. C'est un alicament qui est très efficace pour les maladies aussi des bronches et de la gorge. Donc, c'est très important qu'on aille plus loin dans cette reconnaissance de l'origine, même si certains pays, l'Italie, la Chypre, la Grèce, l'Espagne, Malte, la France, le Portugal, ont commencé à introduire des références. C'est un frein au marché unique si tout le monde fait son truc dans son coin. Donc, il faut que nous ayons un système simple, clair, fort au niveau européen, avec l'indication du pays d'origine et du poids de chaque origine dans le produit final. Ça permettrait aussi d'éviter les contrefaçons où il y a un petit peu de miel de qualité avec beaucoup de miel importé, et que l'ensemble de ce truc puisse s'appeler un miel. Je voudrais vraiment encourager la Commission européenne de proposer un amendement pour les règles d'étiquetage du miel dans le cadre de la prochaine révision des règles, des standards de commercialisation et de marketing dans l'Union européenne. Je pense que l'étiquetage, c'est la première étape pour lutter contre la contrefaçon. Voilà. La deuxième étape, c'est améliorer la traçabilité pour créer un cercle vertueux. Cependant, améliorer la traçabilité pour créer un cercle vertueux, ce n'est pas mettre 3 mètres cubes de papier ou de charge administrative sur les apiculteurs européens, alors qu'à la base, on sait très très bien que le problème ne vient pas des petits agriculteurs européens. Donc, il faut qu'on améliore la traçabilité, notamment aux frontières de l'Union européenne. Aussi, les miels européens qui sont clairement identifiés doivent pouvoir faire partie des campagnes de promotion de l'Union européenne. Pour le futur, il faut que l'Union européenne garantisse que les miels sur le marché européen sont dans un cadre de définition qui soit cohérent. Je vais vous dire le fond de ma pensée. Je pense que du miel qui est fait avec autre chose que du miel ne devrait pas s'appeler miel, en fait. C'est comme les faux laits ou les fausses viandes. Le consommateur qui achète du miel, il pense qu'il achète un produit qui est fait par des abeilles qui butinent tout un tas de fleurs ou de plantes. Pas que c'est des assemblages de sirop. Donc, c'est très important qu'on renforce ce produit de première intention qu'est le miel pour les apiculteurs et que dans le cadre de la stratégie de la ferme à la fourchette, quand on en viendra à l'étiquetage, on mette à part, de la même façon que je vais demander qu'on mette à part d'autres produits de première intention par rapport à l'étiquetage nutritionnel, parce qu'on ne peut pas juger le miel sur le sucre alors qu'il a autant de composants qui sont extrêmement bénéfiques pour la santé de manière naturelle. Donc, j'ai un peu parlé tard et j'avais des notes en anglais, donc j'ai souhaité parler en français puisqu'il y avait de la traduction. Donc, je passe la parole au prochain intervenant en vous remerciant d'avoir organisé ce truc-là et en vous disant que je suis là avec mon équipe pour qu'on arrive à faire avancer ce sujet, y compris avec Martin. C'est un sujet prioritaire pour nous. Merci.
Thank you so much, Madame Tolleret, for your excellent intervention. And I also believe it was a clear message from the European Parliament here. And now we will also have the privilege to listen to Mr. Sprenger, who will give us the European Commission view. And I believe you also got some encouragement to do even more on this field from the Commission side. So it will be really interesting to listen to you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much also for the invitation to participate in this panel. A lot of things have already, a lot of problems have been raised. So let me address some that are of key importance. One thing I want to clarify, or we should all clarify at the beginning, is the Honey Directive in the European Union defines very clearly what honey is. And when we see examples that somebody is selling products that are a mixture of different sweet things, then this is definitely not honey. And you cannot sell products that are not produced by the bees, that are just only produced by the bees. Those products you cannot sell as honey, and there the fraud starts. So changing the legislation in defining what honey is will not solve the problem of fraud. The legislation is very clear, not only the origin, but also what is a blossom honey, what is honeydew honey, and a lot of specific chemical characteristics. In relation to the origin of honey, the current rules are very clear that honey needs to be labeled with the country of origin. However, blends of honey can be labeled as blends of honey and mixture of honey from different origins. And this is clear. This is a problematic. The Honey Directive is 20 years old. And it is a directive where member states have room to implement at national level. And so we have the situation that was quite nicely presented by Frank, that some member states oblige the indication of the origin of honeys even in blends, and other member states, they use the legal option that they have in their regulation to label blends of honey as mixtures of EU honeys or mixture of EU and non-EU honey. And even if a member state has strict rules at national level, it cannot prevent that a honey that is mixed in another member state is legally sold on its market. And we are all clear that we are not looking only at a functioning common market. We are also looking at the specific interests of consumers that are more and more focusing on the origin of the product. The farm to fork strategy has clearly identified a number of priorities and actions, and labeling of food is a very important element in this farm to fork strategy. Nutritional labeling was already mentioned, and here is it certainly important that single ingredient products like honey are treated in the appropriate way vis-a-vis products that are already an ingredient, already a product with many ingredients. In relation to origin labeling, I can tell you that we recently launched an open public consultation on the review of marketing standards. So we have marketing standards for a lot of products, poultry, meat, fruit and vegetables, but also the Honey Directive is from its content a marketing standard, because it defines the product that is marketed. And we included also the Honey Directive in this open public consultation. We received a lot of contributions from citizens, from the industry, from beekeepers, and we are now in the process of analyzing these quite substantial inputs. And I can tell you that we are looking into the possibility to review the Honey Directive in relation to origin labeling to address the interest that is raised several times, and recently even by the German presidency in the Council. To finish, let me draw your attention to a particular challenge that we have. It is difficult to trace, or it is difficult to determine the origin of a honey by analytical methods. So we can find out if the origin, the plants where the honey has been harvested, these we can certainly determine by analytical methods, if it's a rapeseed honey or is it sunflower honey. But we have sunflowers in Ukraine and in China and in all member states of the EU, and therefore it is difficult to determine it by analytical methods. But this should not prevent us from looking into the origin labeling of honey with responsibility and great interest. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Sprenger, for that, and maybe also putting a layer of complication to the problem, as it often is, not as easy, but still important to know how you analyze it and what can be done. I think all of you, I will encourage all of you to listen, to look in the chat if you like to answer something in the end, very brief. You can look in the chat, because I see there is an ongoing debate also from what you're saying. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Senčik from the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Food and Fisheries Directorate in the Republic of Slovenia. So now we will get the member state view on this also. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. You will hear only one thing of one member state, a view of one member state. So I'm not beekeeper, but in our family we are consuming a lot of honey and products of bees. So we can say quite healthy, and for the years we didn't have ordinary diseases like a flu or a cold. I don't know how it works, this diet against the COVID, so I take the prevention to vaccination. I have heard the presentation of Frank Alet, and I think that he make a very interesting point of view. I will be focused on 4 topics. This is labeling EU, non-EU, then labeling of nutritional value, labeling of environmental values, and then in the end, honey, name of the honey, artificial and natural honey. If I go to the labeling, for example, the crucial for what we have talked is EU and no EU label. In point of our view is that this is not a good information, a clear information for the consumer, because the regulation 1169 of 2011 said that the education must be accurate, clear, and easy understandable to the consumer. I think EU origin or no origin, is this accurate? It's clear for the consumer. For me, not, because this honey can be from everywhere. We say can word honey, or is better to put without origin. Second thing, the directive said that we must mention this mixed, that must be labeled, a mixture of EU and non-EU honey. This is obligatory, but this sometimes can mislead the consumer, because consumers said that this is EU honey and some non-EU honey, but in the practice maybe will be inside a drop of EU honey, and in this case is mislead. I think that in this case we support the bee producers that all the countries can be mentioned. The standard in all countries must be the same. You have seen Italy, Greece, and Croatia. They have in their legislations obligatory, but this is valid only for producers in this country, non-producers from the other country. Because I was in Italy, I live near Italian border, and I have seen in the Italian shops there is mentioned, there are all countries of origin mentioned on the label, but in the like in the Hofer or Aldi, there is labeled according to the EU directive. Then light semaphore for labeling the nutrition value of food. I think that we can't distinguish the food we are healthy, not healthy, and middle healthy food. Each food has a nutritional value in the in balanced diet, and even honey has his part in the balanced diet. For me, will be better to make a recommendation of daily intake for the certain food, not for all, but instead of making that the honey is on, say, orange, we say that for a normal diet, it's good to take 2 or 3 spoons of the honey or something like that. Then definition, yes, I agree that with Mr. Aller that a lot of definition undermines their credibility. Clear food labeling is an integral part of the transition towards sustainable food systems, allowing consumers to choose a healthier and more sustainable food. The most effective labeling schemes to encourage behavior changes are these using reliable, transparent, and independent certificates and standards. It's crucial that we decide for a single system that consumers can trust, not only in terms of nutrition, but also in terms of sustainability. I hope that you have understood. I have wrote these sentences. I think that for interpreters it will be a little bit difficult. But and second, the last point: natural and natural food. Mr. Springer said that honey is honey. Is defined what is it? But on the market, sometimes it's labeled artificial honey because there is nothing which will prohibit, because we say that this this information is correct against the producer, because say that this is artificial honey. Even sometimes they say natural honey. In our point of view, honey, is produced of is a bee product, and I think that in this case we really must make the protection or the reservation of honey and bee names of bee products only for these products, similar what is made, for example, by milk and milk products. This is all of my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senchik, for your excellent intervention. And I know you got also comment in the chat to pass your information to the other member states. And then in the chat, there is also a declaration that many member states has been written, so you can read that, all of you. And then also there is an encouragement here to listen to this declaration. So I will mention that, and also ask the European Commission to consider opening the directive on honey in order to tackle the problems. But I know that we are in the end of this first part, but I also promised to give the audience an opportunity to maybe raise the hand. And I will do the second panel. We had two panelists who was not able to come, and I will jump in myself. So I will put myself on the latest. So we will not influence the other panelists so much if we take just couple of minutes, not long, to make it possible to ask questions to you. If it's okay for this panel to stay just 3 minutes or 4. I see some nodding here. So if there is someone in the audience who would like to raise the hand or say something, maybe some of you who have been writing in the chat would like to say something. I will see if I have some hand raised here. Let's see. Q&A. No, I will just see in the chat maybe. Is it someone who was speaking in the chat who would like to say it also openly? No, not now. Okay, then I will encourage instead the panelists to read the chat and see if there is some comment to your statements in the chat other than the things that I did announce. I would like to take this opportunity then to really give a big thank you to all of you. You put us, you gave us the information what's happening in our 3 different institutional levels in the EU and also member state level. That was really valuable, and I believe that for all of us, we will take with us what you have been saying, and hopefully we will meet again. But now Noah would like to say something, so I give this opportunity then. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would just like to read a question that has been sent. Yeah. I don't know why this is happening. Well, just to read, I'm going to remove the video. To read a video, a question that has been sent from Francesco Panella in the question and answers, and I'm going to translate it. So it's actually a statement. So I don't know if Francesco Panella prefers me to read it, or he can do it himself. But anyway, I'm going to do it. So actually, he says that we should, or what is needed before anything, and very simply and urgently, to have two obligatory messages of labeling in all the European Union. One is honey, if original honey, so from the origin and from one only country. Second one, if it is a mixture of honeys, and include the indication of decreasing amount of honey contributing to this mixture of honey. So that's what he's saying.
Thank you so much. And now we have Madame Tolleret, who would like to take the floor. And I think maybe you like to answer.
Très rapidement.
Oui.
Donc, je suis aussi coprésidente de l'intergroupe vins, spiritueux et produits d'alimentation fine. Donc, on a beaucoup de produits qui sont sous signes de qualité. Dans les signes de qualité, il y a des indications géographiques, mais il y a d'autres choses. Donc, moi, je dis qu'aujourd'hui, au niveau de l'Union européenne, nous avons les moyens législatifs pour faire que le mot miel, quand il y a écrit miel, ça doit être produit à 100% par des abeilles. Et de l'imposer, je pense que les pays tiers à l'Union européenne, en dehors de la Chine, on arrivera à les embarquer avec nous là-dessus. Mais pour moi, quand le sujet, c'est la contrefaçon du miel avec des choses qui ne sont pas du miel, et il est important qu'on le protège. Je pense que nous avons les outils pour le faire, et donc j'envoie la balle sur la Commission. Il n'y a pas de raison que quand on prend des vins AOC, ou quand on prend des fromages, ou quand on prend des vins qui sont sous signe de protection avec des signes de qualité européens, le bio, par exemple, si on prend du bio et qu'on mélange avec du non-bio, on perd le label bio. Et bien, pour moi, miel, si on mélange du miel avec quelque chose qui n'est pas du miel, ça ne peut plus être du miel, et ça ne doit pas être étiqueté avec le mot miel sur l'emballage. C'est-à-dire que moi, même miel artificiel, je ne suis pas d'accord avec le mot miel. Voilà. Merci.
Thank you. And I think that have to, or of course, I will give also Mr. Alatru the floor to also say something. Yeah, of course.
Oui.
And also, because we had the questions, I would like you to also be able to respond.
Oui, je crois que nous devons vraiment simplifier le débat. Les mots ont un sens. Du miel, c'est du miel. Ensuite, quand il y a des mélanges, ça s'appelle autrement. Donc, il faut que, d'un point de vue marketing et d'un point de vue législatif, qu'il n'y ait pas la possibilité de tromperie. Donc, là-dessus, je crois qu'au niveau de l'Europe, on va devoir être très clair et pas essayer d'inventer des termes miel artificiel, origine de ceci, cela. Non, là, il y a le miel, et ensuite, il y aura des produits, des pâtes à tartiner, ils l'appelleront comme ils voudront, c'est des spécialités, etc. Mais on ne pourra pas mettre le mot miel dedans. On pourra le retrouver dans les ingrédients, ça bien évidemment, mais c'est la transparence qui l'oblige. Mais on ne peut pas l'appeler autrement. Ensuite, en ce qui concerne justement les origines avec les notions de pays, c'est très important de les préciser parce que le consommateur, on l'a vu sous l'effet Covid, c'est un effet mondial. Le circuit court est privilégié. Les gens, il y a l'impact carbone, mais il y a surtout la traçabilité. On veut savoir ce que l'on a dans l'assiette. Et là, il est indispensable d'être transparent, parfaitement transparent sur l'origine du produit, sur le contenu du produit et son origine, sa qualité, sa traçabilité. L'étiquetage doit être clair, transparent, informatif et ne laissant pas la place au doute. Et ça, aujourd'hui, on a les outils juridiques avec des formulations très simples parce qu'on est sur un produit primaire et on a des outils qui permettront d'informer le consommateur de façon rapide, claire, avec des pourcentages, des origines, et le consommateur saura exactement ce qu'il a dans son assiette. Donc ça, c'est votre rôle. On compte sur vous, si on peut le dire, pour que cette clarification soit faite au plus vite, d'une façon simple. Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aletru, for also this very clear message. I get so inspired. I would like to be in the panel too. I'm not, so therefore I need, my role now is actually to thank you and everyone who has been organizing this first panel. We have lots of fruitful thoughts now after this panel, and definitely a challenge, but also possibility to do more to help out for the farmers and the bees. Thank you so much. We will now actually go into the next panel, and it's very interlinked, the labeling and the traceability in the honey supply chain, I believe. So we already touched upon this subject in the first panel, and we will probably also interlink the labeling when we come back when we go to this next panel. And I will, without further ado, give the floor to Stanislav Jas, a Finnish professional beekeeper and also vice president in the working group Honey for Kopakogesha, and you will explain your role there and what you do there more. I will let you introduce yourself and also give you room now, 15 minutes, to talk about traceability. The floor is yours.
Okej, thank you. Thank you, Itte hälsningar till ledamot Itte från Helsingfors. My personal greetings to organizers and all of you from Helsinki, the far east of Europe. It's a pleasure. I've been following this event from the beginning and took part in many of the sessions, and I want to congratulate at this point already. I'm not going to speak about me. I'm a professional beekeeper, as you said. We work in teams, and these are some of the organizations where I'm involved. In Finland, for instance, with the dark bee producers, dark bee keepers, it's a very old genetic reserve. Also, from the Åland Islands, one of the few regions in Europe that are varroa-free. Of course, in the honey group of Kopakogesha, which is a farming organization, but I consider professional beekeepers at least to be bee farmers. And then the major honey bioprocessor in Finland, so-called Honey Group. My challenge here is that I'm probably the last speaker, and many was said. So I would like really to concentrate only on the topic of traceability. We heard, and I'm not going to argue with that the honey fraud and adulteration is really a global problem. This is a fact. If somebody doesn't believe in facts, all right, but I think in the European Union, and at least in our beekeeping world, we still believe in facts. And what is now under a serious threat with this phenomenon is the traditional beekeeping as a source of living. In Europe, we have the traditional beekeeping here. The authenticity of our very cherished product that comes from nature. Let's tell it again. And as a consequence, the consumer confidence. So what can we do about ensuring that we have the product integrity? First of all is to prove with the laboratory analysis. We can basically prove the authenticity, is it honey or not? We can prove the origin, where it was produced, but we can also prove the quality of it, if we have the criteria for that. The other way, and the first one doesn't exclude the other, is the traceability of products. And with the traceability, certainly we can prove the origin, but also the authenticity and quality. We heard today quite a lot about the laboratory component of this product integrity. I'm not going to really repeat those things, but the major finding is that at the moment, the adulterators are somehow quicker than the governments, and that's the fact. So these laboratory analyses have their limits, but they are still useful. I want to underline that. The other way that I mentioned was traceability, and the traceability is enshrined in the EU food law. It's there. It's obligatory for some of the operators. It was strengthened when we had major food safety crisis. And here is the definition: the ability to track any food, but also feed the animals who produce it, and any substance that will be used for the food manufacturing during the whole stages. And you know, in beekeeping, we don't only produce honey, but we also use some of the inputs. So beekeeping is concerned. However, you know, there is no legal requirement to implement internal traceability within a business. And there are also some exceptions that the traceability part, one of this part, doesn't directly apply to the case where I sell directly to the final consumer. Now, the traceability, besides this EU food law, is also a voluntary technical tool for businesses in the food industry to assure the quality and also to manage risks. We have an ISO standard on that from 2007, and it's a voluntary tool. I want to state again. There is another discussion within ISO currently about bee products and traceability, and there's already one on propolis. Now, this traceability also can be a reliable proof of honey authenticity. So it's useful for this purpose, and also as a support to detect and find honey fraud in business-to-business relations, but also for the public control authorities. On the picture there, you can see our local initiative with the black bee, dark bee products in Finland. Our association tries to work on this traceability too. Now, this is a fact sheet from the European Commission. You can still find it on the website. It's not very recent, but what is important here is that food traceability really is the cornerstone of EU food safety. Now, the food safety pops up very, very often. So we speak about the safety. Safety means that if somebody eats honey, it's safe for health. It doesn't die out of it. You see that its traceability is about documentation. It's about records. It's about making sure when I produce something that I can trace back one step forward and one step back from where I purchased it and where I sold it. Now, this is interesting for our case, the beekeeping sector, that the EU has the power, European Commission, to legislate in specific sectors. And this is already the case in the beef, in the vegetable and fruit sector. So there are specific rules. And also honey is mentioned because we have our, and I like that we have this Honey Directive. It's a unique text, although outdated a bit. So in this Honey Directive currently, unfortunately, you don't find any single mention to traceability, and I think this can be definitely improved. The fact here is that the customers are currently driving this need for better traceability. You know, we sell honey. I mean, I personally sell honey directly to consumers, to citizens, and I see more and more here in the city of Helsinki, people coming from different origins. I can see people asking more and more, is it really your honey? Is it real honey? Was this, you know, fed the bees with sugar? And this is just increasing these questions. So the public is starting to be aware of this major problem. And it means that we have maybe an issue with the fact that the public image of honey is starting to be undermined. So we as beekeepers, as our, you know, sector, we start to respond to this by concrete actions in terms of traceability too. But I want to underline here that this industry and sector-based actions, unfortunately, cannot solve the fraud at international level. At this large scale, as Etienne Bruno was showing, the market with huge quantities, huge batches being exported, imported across the borders. This is not any more a single matter for a single beekeeper. And global scale, that's also very important to underline. We are part of the global market. Now, if the information is provided to consumers and it's checkable by them, it creates a major benefit. So in this sense, the traceability goes beyond food safety. So it's important that the concept of traceability within the EU law is, according to my understanding, enshrined or connected to food safety, but it goes beyond, because it can provide transparency to honey buyers, whoever the buyer is it the final consumer or a honey picker or the distributor? Now, concrete examples of these voluntary initiatives. I'm also a contract producer in the major Finnish company processing, buying and packing local honey, but also to some extent imported honey, because Finland is not self-sustainable. So here you see, we put, I was not there, but the managers of the company already in 2004 traceability service for consumers. And it was because the Honey Fresh Directive adopted a year before was not simply enough for Finland here, because we wanted to give the customers, the honey buyers, a clear indication on where the honey comes from. And in this example, you have a set of consumer of producers of honey, Helsinki, Paris, Stockholm. This is not the case actually, because they all come at the moment from Finland, but it's just to make you understand the concept. So the company buys this honey, it's identified by batches. So the company knows in their database where it came from, when it was purchased, and then makes a laboratory analysis, the commercial analysis, including many of the components that are required by the honey Directive or the Finnish honey decree, including check for the residues of antibiotics, which are not used anymore in Europe, by the way. But the important thing here is that we provide the information to the consumers. So when you buy a jar, a jar in the shop from this honey company, you will have this label on it, and you can check from a mobile application, or actually not an application, but from the mobile, from the website, putting in the best before date, where are the places where the honey comes from. So this is just to make you aware that in Finland we may be some of the pioneers, but this is not a new concept. We can go beyond that even if we want to. And if we were purchasing honey and mixing it with other member states' honey, we would have the information. The only problem here is that some of the companies abroad are unable to provide information based on the General Data Protection Directive. This is another example from Italy, and I greet here our colleagues from Italy, especially from the producer cooperative Conapi, because this is one of the initiatives they have, the brand Mielizia, where actually the honey buyer, the consumer, can check where the honey comes from. The other initiative that is here, it's the distribution chain or supermarket chain Eselunga. So these initiatives are not only coming from the beekeepers, they are coming also from distributors. It's relatively recent, but it's coming. Another example from France. I just noticed this year the French initiative locally in the region of Vendée that I know somehow because I studied in France and I like it. Look, there is the use of the blockchain technology adapted to relatively small producers of eggs, of dairy, but also honey. This is an application available for consumers. They can have the information when they are buying from the shelves. Another obligation in France in terms of traceability is that every beekeeper should have this so-called cahier de mielerie, so a record about his production. All right, this concerns the producers, but in France they have the good guide of good practices where the traceability is included. So these are some of the industry-led actions, but what we think in Copa Cogeca is that this is really not enough in this current state of play. So we should increase the traceability. And first of all, given that the traceability already exists for food operators, make sure that there is a full compliance with the current requirements, especially the control authorities can make sure. But we need also to work on a new system along the chain from the beekeeper to the final buyer. And we need for that modern technological solutions because the traceability can only be effective if we deploy it across the whole of the EU and possibly also globally. This solution must be simple, workable, preferably digital. It cannot kill the beekeeper. And, the problem really lies in the international trade. Now, who would be working on it? Everyone. We don't expect this to come up just from the European Commission, but I think the European authorities can help us. We can start funding a technical development project, and we need these databases we were talking about, and we need these references for what is honey, real honey, etc. Now, when this is the best moment, it was already said, we have this farm to fork, we have this EU Sustainable Food Labeling Initiative, and we are in the middle of the process. And it was already said, and I'm happy that I heard that the European Commission DG Agri is somehow open to update the directive. I would personally prefer not a directive, but another form, legislative form. Okay, it's up to the discussion. And please, in this legislative update, we need also to make sure that we have the right definitions of all bee products, not only honey. Now, the use of modern consumer technologies, right. The documents that are there already, they are mostly for operators and control authorities. Consumers want easy solutions, and we have a tool, that's the blockchain technology. But what is important, and there is a first example of this in Belgium, that it is connected to empowering of the consumer is connected to the laboratory result of the honey. And what was not really highlighted in this discussion yet was the role of pollen. So the pollen that comes from flowers and that is naturally contained in the honey, in the real honey. So this pollen signature. Now, researchers have already started to publish on this topic, and there is a concrete example from this year. It comes from the USA, and they even proposed a system that would be relatively easy to implement. Go and read this research paper is available publicly for free in the entirety, and it would also possibly bring other benefits such as the honey yield prediction, and also a customer information portal. So I very much like what is being done in this case in Belgium, for instance, because the lab result can be somehow also, viewed by the consumer. Now, we have a panel discussion in a while, so on this traceability, we are at the start maybe of this discussion. This is maybe a new topic also in the honey sector for the European Commission. These are open questions, food for thought, and we need to somehow see what should be traced, what information. Should we have a compulsory or voluntary traceability system that would be based on EU-wide guidelines? What we really want as beekeepers, it's feasible, reliable, and I guess the legislator must also somehow make sure that we respect the GDPR requirements. I already told about the importance of having legally binding definitions of bee products, because otherwise all this EU legislation will not really bring all the benefits. And then we need to widen the traceability, perhaps that's for the discussion internationally. It's an interesting thing. We have some statistics, EU statistics on beekeeping. They are coming through the apiculture programs, but could this traceability system also provide better statistics on the sector, on the honey production especially, and especially if they are international? Last but not least, we already proceeded within the Copa-Cogeca Working Party on honey, and the discussion is ongoing in a more concrete proposals. And what we proposed in our paper from last year, what should be traced, at least the big honey batches that are, 20 tons of honey in these drums. And the honey batch, actually, the batch is not the obligatory component at the moment. In France, it is. But, the honey batch should include at least the information on the beekeeper, the batch number, and the year of production. And I think in this it would be really feasible by beekeepers. I would like to conclude that we work on this together. It's very important, and I think somebody already told it. We need to work together, and this is the good platform. We must make sure that you know, honey remains natural quality product. I don't know a beekeeper who would make beekeeping from necessity, who wouldn't like it. We love what we do. I love working with bees. I love to produce this quality product, and I hate that somebody is undermining my work. So let's work together. Thank you. There is also vďaka in Slovak language, so please organizers, Noah, extend this to Mr. Hojsik and his team. And I would like to conclude here. Let's open the panel, maybe. Jutta.
Thank you, Mr. Jas, for this excellent introduction. And there are so many fruitful thoughts in this, and I really believe this will also facilitate the panel debate that will come now. We will come back to many of the things that you have been saying. I got an information. We are a little bit late. On the other hand, we had some in the panel who were not able to come. So we will give the floor to you who would like to contribute from the audience. But the interpretation is possible a little bit longer than 1 p.m. They were so kind and said maybe we could stay until 15 past. I will not stretch that. I would say 10 past. So we know that we keep the time limit. And thank you so much for your kind offering to help us. I will actually start in this panel by giving the floor to my panel fellow here, Mira Skubic, who from, I'm sorry, the last name, you will pronounce it yourself, so it's more correct in the end there. It was the C that I had some, maybe it's more a K. I would like to say that it will be very interesting to listen to you and hear the thoughts from the administration of the Republic of Slovenia on the food safety, veterinary sector, and also plant protection, as I understand it, is your field. Please, the floor is yours for 3 to 5 minutes. And then I will go from my moderator role and jump in a little bit from a more parliament view. Sorry for that mix, but my friend Biljana Borsan was not able to come. I would wanted to listen to her, but I will give a bit of view that I think we share. And then I'm also want to announce now that the European Commission, DG Sante, was not able to join this discussion. I find that regrettable, because I believe that it's very important to listen to them, and also for them to hear this important discussion, because they are key in this process, even though I absolutely agree with you, Mr. Jas, that they are not the kingmaker. We are many who needs to work together here, but the European Commission can really facilitate this. So I hope if there is someone from the Commission, that you can also mention to them that they were missed in this panel. That being said, I would like to give you the floor, Madame Skubic, and have your introduction in the panel.
Yes, thank you. First, I would like to thank you to invite me to participate to this event. And I would like also thank you to Stanislav Jaš, who really prepare good summarize of all those subjects that I discussed today. At the beginning, yes, the EU General Food Law Regulation 178 defines food products traceability as the ability to trace and follow a food, feed, production in all stages of production, processing, and distribution. But traceability has not only become a legal obligation within the EU, but furthermore, increasing becomes a global issue. And honey is one of the few remaining food products that is considered natural and without added ingredients. However, honey is one of the most adulterated high-value food in the world. It is important to start collecting data during production rather than trying to identify adulterated honey at the end of the supply chain. A smart agriculture system focused on honey traceability is a visible solution to the problem of economically motivated honey adulteration taking place. The development of product identification and localization technologies provides a great opportunity to advance the traceability system, strengthening product counterfeiling and protecting the repetition, those achieve the market and customers' demands. Customers' awareness involves more and more of quality issues, not only safety. It includes also environment conformity when making their buying decisions. Industry and agribusiness have to respond to these changing customer demands by increasing sustainability of processing and products. Traceability is a cornerstone of the food safety policy, but another function of traceability is that it provides targeted and accurate information concerning product to the customers and enables the customers to acquire the relevant information related to the food safety and quality issue. Those customers are willing to pay a higher price for products under certain guaranteed circumstances or coming from a special origin. Traceability should include the interface between a physical transportation system and an information system. Traceability is always considered as a part of risk management. As mentioned before, also voluntary ISO standards could be in place. But traceability on one hand becomes a tool for farmers, beekeepers, to improve performance in supply chain, to provide better means for financial status, to create repetition, and to meet customer demands. It's not only that public requests from farmers and food processing industry to use traceability to increase public welfare and or to preserve the environment. Digital technologies today have the potential to revolutionize agriculture, also when we are talking about beekeeping, production of honey, and to help to work them more efficiently and sustainable. We are talking that this old directive include no detailed requirements for traceability. I also agree that this will be needed when the directive will be open because of the origin. It's also important that include special part about traceability. This will help on the one hand producers, on the other hand consumers, but also official competent authorities. Because when we are talking about traceability, it's not part of the rapid alert system when food or honey is unsafe, but also because of the repetition. When we are talking about consumer requirements that they would like to know what to buy and from which producer is coming. For example, my personal opinion, and also I do in practice, I always buy honey. I use a lot of honey, but I buy from Slovenian beekeepers, which introduce also on voluntary way special protective geographical indication, Slovenian honey. But on the other hand, there are a lot of consumers that buy products in big shops, and you can buy much cheaper honey, but you don't really know from where it's coming. And because of that, it is very important. And I would like to say also that 26 European countries decide a declaration of cooperation on a smart and sustainable digital future for European agriculture and rural areas, to take a number of actions to support a successful digitalization of agriculture and rural areas in Europe, which could be also include this very important part in EU beekeepers and honey as a food. Member states have agreed to work closer together in order to strengthen support to research in areas such as smart farming and food traceability. They will also establish a Europe-wide innovation infrastructure for a smart European agri-food sector and create a European data space for smart agri-food applications. So that all for my side, and I would like thank you for attention, and I would ask if there are some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Kuskubik, for your interesting intervention, and also with lots of knowledge on the subject, and with the also personal reflections there. Thank you so much. You will probably get questions. I will do a bit unusual switch here. So now I will go from that into the panel. But I'm thinking that since I'm replacing my friend Biljana, I will allow myself to be a bit personal and start on a more being a representative in the European Parliament, having the experience of meeting citizens in that role, representing the thoughts in my constituency and in the elections that I have been taking part of. I find that this subject of today, the traceability, is extremely important, and it has been a part of my of the dialogue with the citizens in the election movement until in 2019. So I believe it is something that people in all over probably Europe, but I for sure know that in Sweden, in my home country, this is something that people talk a lot about. One talks about the honey and the weird situation of knowing that you like to buy honey, and this is a good, healthy product many times. As been mentioned earlier today, it is often good product for different health aspects, and then you hesitate when you're in the store. You feel this, it's not possible to buy because you don't know what's in front of you. That's the story that I have been faced to as a politician and in the election movement. I also heard frustration from beekeepers who is telling the same, that they have an excellent product that they are proud of, and yet they have competition from not serious actors that is intervening in the market in an unjust way. And that is something that is creating frustration, since this is not the consumer's will to encourage this, but the consumers doesn't know. So many of the products will be sold because of knowledge from the citizens, of course. And this is absolutely something that I find frustrating, and therefore it has been so interesting to listen today to many of the experts in this subject about how it actually is. I would also like to be even more personal and tell that in my life, when I go to the grocery and when I buy food, many times I would like to buy honey, but I only do it if I know what type it is. So therefore, many times stressed in the daily life with the kids, with trying to cope in my daily life, I find myself not even when I'm in a new store or even the store next to me here, when I don't know, I don't buy anything. So that's what's happening in my home. So I think many of us who knows that we need to know, and we could maybe buy more if we were sure. But if we are not sure and don't have time to go through all the information, then at least I choose not to buy honey at all. So that's so it's a confession. It's not like that I don't have honey. I have it when I know, but there are many times I could buy more if I only knew. And I think this is also an angle to this discussion that needs to be said from a more consumer perspective, that there is actually an opportunity here, a possibility to help consumers to buy and be helping also the sectors, the beekeepers to survive. And therefore, I think it's extremely important what has been said here today. And from my point of view, I think we need to make sure that the CLP on the classification and labeling and packaging regulation, we can work and make this important topic more functioning in the legislation, and use that legislation to help the traceability. Then I think, of course, we need to use also consumer power, and that has been raised. And I also think, I mean, this kind of scanning opportunities to help easy what kind of product it is with different apps could absolutely be a way to help out. Me, myself, I see this as a complementary tool. Many times we need to have a standard as a floor, and then the consumers can act in that serious floor, in the serious market. If it's the consumers who should help the whole system, I find it difficult. This is my experience, is that it is time consuming for consumers to take the whole fight. Then I would like also to say that I believe that the food security standards will not be enough. So it's definitely helpful, but it's not enough. So we will need more, and we need legislation here. That's why I mentioned the regulation that is coming up in the fourth quarter. But I think better regulation is one of the keys to this problem. And I hope the Commission also listens to this and take it into their plan for the year to come. And then I think also this traceability methods that we have, it needs to be obligatory, mandatory. So this is not something voluntary that will not help the situation. It is really a global problem we're talking about, and in order to correct it, I think the European Union needs to work together on the EU level and be coherent and not fail as a union to this, but be very firm also in the imported goods, what demand we have towards the third country. This is my little intervention, and sorry for switching around a little bit, but it was a privilege to also be in the panel. All that said, I think the floor is open, both for us in the panel, but now I will more answer to questions to me also. but I will maybe not intervene so much. I will moderate, but if someone would like to ask me more a question as a panelist, I will answer. But the floor is open for everyone who would like to intervene again, and also in the audience. I have Mr. Olekas who would like to come in. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jutta. Do you hear me?
Perfect.
Thank you, because I'm from Malta, from Valletta, for our external meeting of SND. Dear colleagues, I would like to express my appreciation for you, what you are saying. It's for me looking that we are like-minded team or group. Being a medical doctor, I know that it's very important for the citizens to know what they eat. The information about the food, about the safety of the food is really very, very important one. And I think we should unite our efforts, because it's customers, the beekeepers, it's really need to better information about the honey. Being a co-chair of apiculture subgroup in the European Parliament intergroup, we discussed about this issue, but I think we should go further, and because it's not enough the position from commissioner. I very welcome the Slovenia presidency that they announced that the labeling of honey is one of the priorities. But I wrote some letters to the commission, and they said that, oh, look, everything is not so bad, and then we can continue. The time is running. We are in the middle of our cadency as a member of parliament, but still nothing happened. And I know that yesterday the Nordic Baltic Beekeepers Council, they have the meeting, and they also adopted the memorandum regarding the labeling of honey. And altogether, Kopajeka, the Stanislavas, thank you very much for you summarizing and then mentioning the traceability. I think it's transparency and traceability is very important in this case. And I congratulate you, and I would like to maybe suggest to strengthen more our efforts from the consumer side, from the beekeepers, from our some members of European Parliament to maybe a little bit press more, push more the Commission to be more active and more faster in this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my colleague. It was not so nice to hear from you from Malta. Wish I was there. But also important topic raised. And before I give the floor to, let's see, Francesco Panella, I will give the floor to Mr. Jas again, and you are you asked for the floor very early, so it's your turn.
My turn, not Francesco's. Okay. Well, I think really it's about transparency, and what should be, I think, said once again. We had clear demands when it comes to origin labeling, and this goes in hand. If we have a better origin labeling, we need traceability, better traceability as a proof. So I would like to encourage it. European Commission, I maybe understand why it was difficult to get somebody on this panel, DG Santé, DG Agri, who is in charge. Traceability in the honey chains may be a brand new topic, but I want to encourage them to be patient, because we are also discussing internally, and maybe the best solution would be really to open a group, maybe also an expert group. We have the Joint Research Center. They are already active in this laboratory analysis. Joint Research Center is competent for many other things, including technology. And this blockchain is not that difficult to understand as you may think. It's a technology that may be quite safe, and you cannot really adulterate the data. So please make sure that the European Commission is on board, but we will assist you. We just need a framework in the legislation, and I'm sure that even the distributors and the other parts of the chain will come, because it's the consumer who will be finally empowered, and we need the local European consumer. First, last thing I want to underline is quite often from the European Commission, and it's their role to protect the European market, the single market, so without any restrictions, major restrictions to trade. There are countries in Europe that do not produce enough honey. Either they don't have the capacity or they have some problems. But I think as a consumer in Finland, I always like to buy some special honey, sometimes that we cannot produce here. And I would like to have a clear indication on the fact that this lavender honey or the orange honey was really produced by a nice beekeeper somewhere in Spain or in France. And I have a question for Mira. You being a representative of a member state's government or authority, is there something you would like to have from us beekeepers as an information to work on this traceability better?
Yes, thank you for this question. So, as you mentioned, here it is a combination of responsibility of DG Agri and DG Santé. So I'm working DG Santé part, but when we are talking about honey, it's always at the end that the new things have to prepare DG Agri. So in that way, I think that it will be good also to get the information, as you mentioned, from beekeepers. Anyway, that in Slovenia, we have very good national chamber of beekeepers that cooperate with us. But it will be good to get, yes, some information also more general from other member states as beekeeper organization, yes.
Thank you so much for that answer too. And now it's Francesco who asked for the floor. Maybe I think I saw correct, but maybe for time reasons he left the meeting. I don't know. I hope not. If someone knows, please help him to be able to say a few words. Let's see. I will look also in the chat if it's someone who would like to intervene now. No, I think Noah said there was a question from the floor, but that was a bit earlier.
Yes, no, it was, there were actually two, one from Mr. Olekas and one from Mr. Panella. But Mr. Panella, I think he had a technical issue and he was removed from the meeting, so I cannot find him anymore, unfortunately.
Okay, but then I will just give everyone a chance now. Then, if there is someone who feel that you would like to react to what's been said and didn't have the chance, there is still a couple of minutes. So I will give that opportunity to you now. If not, then maybe people feel they need some lunch. That can be a reason. I'm very sure that the topic has been extremely interesting and that many would like to react to your interventions. It was once again really interesting panel, and not myself, but from you, Cubic, you did an excellent intervention, and also you, Mr. Jas, it was extremely interesting to listen to you, and I believe that there will be lots of continued dialogue from this Green Deal for the pollinators the whole week, and also these two panels today. I think all of you have been extremely skilled, and I would like to thank of course the panelists of today. I would like to thank the participants, the one of you who asked questions, but all of you who also listened. That is often the most important thing, to listen and learn and bring the thoughts to the future and keep on. And I would also like to thank the interpretation for the interpretation and the job that you are doing. Without you, we could not have this interesting debate today, and it's extremely difficult, but you do it always so well. And today I listened many times, even though I study French, I needed it. So thank you so much. And then I would also like to thank Noah a lot for giving so much help also to me and to everyone to make sure that we can communicate. And Martin Hoysik, I would like to thank you too from earlier on this week, my member colleague who has been very helpful also to me and my office. And then once again to Renew, who paid for the interpretation. Thank you so much for everyone, and have a nice lunch, and we keep in touch. Bye.
Yes, bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.